Yeah, it's interesting. The whole thing with nature is like our language causes us to think that when you say something, you really have it, and it's always in
In
motion,
flux, yeah.
And there's one thing I study a lot of science, and one thing that's really important to understand is the law of things don't follow laws. Laws are like a grid we put on it.
That's right.
In order to understand what's happening.
Right.
So I'll tell you a little bit about my teaching in my class. I teach. I teach this traditional native style tracking, like everybody else does. But my take on the spiritual side tracking is the native trackers tracked in sacred time, and I started asking myself what that meant and what the spiritual life was like for those guys. And where I'm at with it is that to make it into a spiritual practice and to make it into a meaning-making part of your life, you gotta look at tracking as a metaphor. And so all the little different things you do in tracking actually took place at the time our neocortex was forming, like 2 million years ago. And our brain is designed to work that way because it came into being as a neocortex in order to solve tracking problems, at least in part. The thing in tracking is like, you know how you have the 4 views? Like you have the eagle's view, and then you have the standing view, and the kneeling view, and that side heading. And you also are instructed to go around the object so you can see it from different light, so you can see the track there. Well, that's a metaphor to learning anything. And a way of expressing it is you have to look at everything from all the different sides. And a lot of people, most people, I think, tend to have kind of a laser focus. They know one version of it real well, and then they speak with authority about it. But you're not really authority until you know all the main opinions. And so that's how I look at tracking. So even applying that to something like studying mountain lions, things change depending on your point of view and also your presence and also other presences. And when you make statements about wolves are a certain way, bobcats are a certain way or something, you have to do that. I mean, that you just necessarily have to do it, but it's just a grid you're putting on what the animals are actually doing. About 40% of your movement neurons are what they call mirror neurons. And mirror neurons entrain with another person's
How
brain.
do you spell that?
M-I-R-R-O-R.
Mirror. Okay, yeah, okay.
They entrain with another person's brain. And they do that by reading body language and the audio language and then constructing what that means and into an image.
Wow.
So, but it actually, like you can see, like I can look at you and you move your thumb, my thumb and thing will move in my brain. And so getting inside the mind of the animal is one element of that, being that you're really kind of getting in there. It's like here's your mind, here's the animal mind. You get pretty substantially in there. You know the things that you need to know. You don't know the soap opera with a girlfriend maybe, but you know.
I agree.
As a tracker, you're looking at the intention.
Right.
You know where that animal's going to go.
I asked this question to a couple people who kind of have gotten into the deep mind as much as possible of a cat. So, do you feel like having tracked, let's say bobcats? I don't know if you.
I've tracked mostly bobcats, but
some cougars.
Whenever I get a chance, I follow.
Yeah. And
but you don't have snow here, so the tracking is.
So, do you feel like you've kind of, just like we were talking about bears, do you feel like you've kind of been able to enter into that sense, that cougar mind in some kind of way?
Yeah.
What's that like?
I'm going to answer that yes, but qualified, because I know there's some people who are so much further into it than me that's not even funny. But yeah, I mean, I strive to achieve that when I track with animals, and I feel. I mean, I'm really into cognitive science, and I have a lot of interest in the mechanics of what it means. Like that's a statement in the English language. You get into the mind of the animal. So the South African tracker, there were 2 of them. Alex said it like this: you take the animal into your heart. But Renius said you put on the skin of the animal.
That's really.
That's the way I feel.
Yeah.
And you're. I mean, it's kind of a long explanation, but it really relates to how you conceive of the self and of the spirit. And the way that cognitive science people see it, you're not in direct contact with reality, but like your eyes get hit by 300 billion photons at any second. And it takes, before you process it and see the picture, it takes a fraction of a second, 0.025 seconds. And this is true, like if you touch your body, you don't feel it instantly. You have that gap. This is true in everything mental. We always run a little behind the reality. So we are not living in real time. We live in deep time. And the model that our brain creates from our input and from our memories is the self. So when you start thinking about that, when you think about getting inside the mind of a cat, it gives you more access that you can mechanically, by observing and reading and getting that feel you have when you're with an animal and have an experience, getting your dirt time in. I think in a way you do get into it. I first of all, tracking's 80% to me, not 100%, because you don't need 100%. And if you stop to get 100%, you never get anything to eat. And you have your mind, you have cat mind. You do get to the point where you can make predictions that are accurate, and that's the indication that you're accurately understanding some of the mechanism in the cat. And like you told your experience, and you have dreams, I'm sure.
I was having dreams about bears a lot when I was doing that.
Bears and cats too. Mm-hmm. I mean, I just had a really great mountain lion dream the other night, almost as good as seeing it. And but to me, those are not substantially different than your regular life. Mm-hmm. It's like two cars come to an intersection. Neither one of you makes anything, but you negotiate who goes first. Mm-hmm. It's not like you go first, Mm-hmm. And you do, you're basically, to the parts that are relevant, you do get into it. And I feel on that level, yeah. I think of a cat as intellectual.
Yeah, and it can sit in a window for 8 hours or something.
That's right. Like a dog is a smell animal. It's got this great big nose. It can smell 800 times better than a cat. Cat's got a little flat nose. The only thing it likes to smell is other cats' asses.
Right. Yeah.
Cat shit. Yeah. It's a visual predator, and it schemes. It sits up in the hill and watches that deer go down to get a drink of water about 4 o'clock every day. When it gets hungry, it sets up an ambush and catches it. It's like when he's walking along a hill, he doesn't walk on a crest. He walks on a military crest below the top of the hill. Every once in a while, he goes up, looks out, comes back down, and walks along. So you see that when you're out tracking, and not only do you get into it, but you adapt that to your own practice, and you become like a lot of American Indians consider they learn to track from the wolf.
Right, yeah.
And I think you learn to track from all the animals you track, in that same sense. All the tracking animals particularly, because some animals don't really track.
Right, yeah.
But tracking to me is more the awareness than the actual